Hello, welcome to the Emperor's Armory channel. This video is about an update that I've made on a game that I'm working on, which is an RTS game. It's called The Great War, and it's about the Great War, the World War I. So the last video that I put out, I had managed to tile terrain pieces, and there was quite a lot of maths involved, and it had me running around for ages trying to figure out how to do it, how to make linear matrix transformations. And I finally did it, and that's what the last video was about. At the end of the last video, actually, I want to talk about this stuff behind me. I'm not going to do that. I'm just not in the headspace for this right now. So I will talk about what I have been doing. When I finished up last time, I thought the next thing I have to do is add height to the map that I've got. If you want hills or you want valleys, you need a way to add or subtract height from the map. And so I started to program that out, and as I was doing that I realized this is not a small task, this is a huge task. Not necessarily in programming it, I'm sure it is, but actually adding height, adding valleys, adding terrain, this is really map building. And map building is a huge part of the game, or of the game development. So I decided, okay, let's build a map editor, just to make the whole process that little bit more smooth. If I have to write all of the maps just using pure code, it's going to take a long time. So rather than that, let's build a tool, and the tool will be a map editor. So that's what I built. However, I say that's what I have built. It was like one step forward and like 4 steps back. I feel like at the end of my last video, the code that I had was pretty much like an experiment. It was like, can I draw terrain? Can I build I don't know, it was just an experiment of some basic ideas. What has changed is that I've dismantled that code, organized it properly, and it's now really the beginnings of an actual game. It's packaged up using object-oriented programming, so it's modular. It's following a structure that will just I'll just be able to keep going, whereas before what I had, if I had kept going the way I was, with it being procedural, I personally would have gotten extremely confused and would have found the code very difficult to work with. So I've dismantled it, taken it from procedural and turned it into object-oriented. And I've also, as I've been building the map editor, I've realized there are more fundamental things. For example, how do you save data? The app had no real way of saving things. It was just an image in a file, and then the image just being loaded and just sitting on the RAM. Well, that's no good for like an actual full-blown game. So what I've done is I've built a class to the game, a class of the game for handling saving, and it's quite a pain. I mean, it's quite an annoying thing to have built, because it's basically building an entire database system from scratch, from bare code, when like I'm not really sure that I know any better way to do it. I could try using a pre-made database system, but I think that might just be a bit more complicated than the thing that I have done, what I have built. So I've built a saving system. I've built out a couple of menus, because a map editor is not just like this standalone thing that just floats in software. It's part of the whole app. So I've built the main menu, and then from the main menu you go into the map editor menu, and then inside the map editor menu there are more options. I'll show you what they are in a second. And only one of those options currently works, which is to edit the height, but even that actually doesn't go any further beyond starting the menu. But anyway, so I've built menus, I've built a saving option, and I've had to start building a way of a camera projection, because I've realized that simply drawing something to the screen is not enough. When you draw something to the screen, you're actually not, or the way that I was previously doing it, it wasn't simply being drawn to the screen that you can see, it was being drawn to everywhere, which would mean that like if you've got a map that's like this big, if your camera only covers the middle section, then you're wasting CPU performance on stuff at the edges that you can't see. So I've changed the way the view works a little bit, so that only the sections which are inside the camera view are being drawn to the screen, even though they still exist in code. They're still stored in the CPU, so units that would be off screen would still be able to do their thing, but they wouldn't be drawn, so it just reduces the amount of use, the amount of load on the CPU. So I hope that once the game starts to get into hundreds of units moving around at a time, little changes like that, little performance decisions will mean that the game actually runs at a decent performance. So anyway, enough ado. Let me show you what I've got so far. Unfortunately, there's an error with my video editing. So for some reason, the image is coming through more choppy than what it is in real life. Although I would say that in real life, the scrolling of this is a little bit jittery. And there's actually a menu before this, which for some reason doesn't show up at all. But that's a video editing issue, and I don't want to, I just can't be bothered. I'm just too busy doing the game to worry about video editing stuff. I don't have time for it. So anyway, yeah, so this is what I've got. It doesn't start with this. This is because I clicked new map, and then the new map brings in this empty section of tile. Although this one here is only a 10 by 10, I think I'm gonna have to figure out, once the actual game starts to get built and I can see how many units I'll be able to put on a map at one time, I'm gonna make the map size as a fixed size. I had tried to make it a dynamic size, so you could say, oh, I want it to be 1,000 or 2,000 by 2,000 or whatever, and I was running into a lot of issues. So to just simplify it, it's simply just going to be one size of map. In this case, it's a 10 by 10. I don't know what full size the normal one will be. So this is the height editor. Currently, only height editor does anything, and it's set to the height editor by default. As soon as you turn on the map editor, it comes into the height editor. But then the next things to build, once I've got the height editor working, which is going to be quite a lot of work in itself, but once the height editor is working, there will then be the terrain editor, where down here there will be a bunch of different options, like different types of terrain: grass, desert, snow, rocky, whatever, and then you'll be able to paint them effectively over the land mass to make it look like actual terrain. And then scenery will be things which are, it's not the underlying height, it's not things like grass, but scenery will be stuff like trees, buildings, swamps, things which are kind of part of the world, but they don't just look like something, they actually do something. Like swampy sections will slow down movement, buildings will provide cover, or stuff like that. So yeah, that's where I'm at. Also, I mean, this is pretty exciting. I understand, like, from the perspective of playing a game, this doesn't look like anything. Like, this is not a game. This is just, you know, some images and whatever. But from my personal perspective, this is pretty awesome, because since I've been like 12, I think maybe, was the first time I ever played an RTS game. I've always seen, like, this map, and you can scroll around the map, and it's got trees and stuff on it. Well, since 14 years old, I've always seen somebody else's work, but this time it's actually my work. Like, I'm the one who actually built this. I'm particularly proud of the bit where you can scroll, you can hover at the edge of the window and the map scrolls. So you can scroll left, right, up, down, and then you can scroll in diagonals as well. I appreciate it's probably not coming through very well on the camera because the editor's not right, but you know, I built that feature. I'm so proud of that. That I'm the guy who built that in there. I know, like, you know, it means nothing as far as games are concerned, but as far as like a personal milestone in my life, having seen games like this since I was a child to now finally having built something like this myself, it's a huge milestone. So I'm just sort of basking in the satisfaction for just a moment or two at this milestone. So join me in basking and self-congratulating for just a brief moment. Anyway, so that's really all that I have to show. You know, I said it was like 1 step forward, 4 steps back. At the end of my last video, I was ready to go on, I thought I was ready to go on and start building height and a height editor. But I you know, I've had to do so many other things, and I haven't even touched the height editor yet. So that will be the next step. It's all set up, it's all ready now. I have everything I need to just now go on and start building the height. I think I'm not sure how difficult it's going to be, but I want to show this briefly. Someone has made a mod for Age of Empires 2 that removes all of the terrain, all the grass, all the trees, everything basically, and just turns it all into cubes. I think it's called the Cube mod for Age of Empires 2. And I found this mod to be extremely interesting in looking at how height is handled. This would be like a normal flat section of terrain, and then here's a hill, and you can see here's the far side of the hill and here's the near side of the hill. And you can see that on the near side, the square sections, which are more like diamonds, they're much larger than the sections on the far side of the hill. And also you can see that here's the normal shape of like one of these diamonds. It's all very equal, these sides are equal, the angles are equal, but the angles and the length of the sides changes drastically to create a sense that you're on the far side of the hill or on the near side of the hill. And I think so far I've kind of run it through my brain a couple of times, and I think I know how this is being done. I think it's only a change on the y-axis. I've like literally got out a ruler and placed it on my screen and checked that the corner on all of the y-axes they all line up, or not on the y, but they all line up on the x-axis. And it is in fact the y-axis that is either being expanded or contracted, either adding or subtracting from the y-axis. So based on that, I think I already vaguely have a clue how to solve the problem. It's just I've had to do so many other things up to this point that I haven't got around to doing it yet. But I'm there now, so I'm looking forward to it. Thank you for watching this video. Cheers, and I'll see you in the next one. Probably the next video will be about me having solved the problem, and I should then hopefully have a height editor actually working on the map. So, alright, thanks very much. Cheers. Bye-bye.